Hello again. Whenever domestic problems appear to be growing monstrously large and unmanageable, British Prime Ministers have always felt it a good idea to turn their attention abroad and promise to sort out some other country's problems, invariably on the pretext of doing the right thing and fighting a wicked enemy. Indeed, this has been a popular strategy since before we even had prime ministers and parliaments here. One remembers the Crusades, which were so handy for getting discontented peasants to leave the country and fight in the Middle East, rather than to cause trouble here by trying to overthrow the king or something. Margaret Thatcher found this a wonderful policy at the very time that her government was more unpopular than any government in this country's history. After 3 years of terrible unemployment and falling standards of living, she had a nice little war on the other side of the world and achieved an absolute miracle with the fantastic landslide majority for the Tories in the 1983 general election when Labour were almost wiped out. Seriously, there is something to be said for turning abroad and to distract attention from domestic problems if you can possibly manage it. Keir Starmer has been under a lot of pressure lately because his government is so useless and corrupt. The economy is failing, he's engulfed in a wave of sleaze and cronyism, and is the most unpopular Prime Minister since forever, basically. What can he do to reverse this situation? Well, he's more popular in Ukraine than he is in this country, and since he's sure to be dead in 100 years' time anyway, there can be no danger in promising to do something there in the year 2125. So it is that he has announced that we will be supporting Ukraine for 100 years, which really must rank as one of the most stupid things that any Prime Minister has ever said. It makes Neville Chamberlain's claim of peace for our time, made the year before the Second World War started, seem positively sensible and restrained. Starmer has in effect handed Ukraine a blank cheque. Britain's own missile defences are in a lamentable state, but he's offering to send as much technology of this kind to Ukraine as is needed. Troops to patrol the border with Russia? Why not? £3 billion a year in financial support? Certainly. One can understand what has motivated this mad generosity with our money. It provides a distraction from the problems here, and it allows Starmer to pose as an international statesman, which must be very pleasant for him. Instead of people shouting offensive remarks when they catch sight of him in the street, as is alas all too often the case in this country, he is welcomed instead with a brass band and an honour guard of crack troops. Of course, the Ukrainians are glad to see him. He's Mr. Moneybags when he goes there. In Britain, we think of him like Scrooge, the man who deprived pensioners of the winter fuel payment. But in Kiev, he's like Father Christmas. I'm quite easygoing about this kind of grandstanding. After all, most Prime Ministers like to play this game from time to time. But I strongly suspect that it will infuriate some people. Even more people will be infuriated in a couple of months' time, when, to balance the books, he will have to raise taxes and cut services. Once austerity starts to bite, I'm sure that many people will ask just why we should have made a 100-year commitment to supporting and protecting Ukraine.